The interesting thing about our movie is that we have an incredible cast. We had an incredible cast. And once we got Ray Liotta, a lot of people wanted to be in a Ray Liotta film, even though they didn't have a scene with him. And so we have this incredible cast. You know, we had Lauren Hawley and Emmett Walsh, and Seymour Cassell plays our grandfather, and just this incredible cast. One of the highlights, again, of my life was the night that Ray Liotta flew into Pittsburgh. Our producer, Ryan Johnson, pulled me aside and just warned me. He said, Bill, with A-list actors, there's going to be one of three things he's going to do. He's either A, going to come in, he's not going to talk to anybody, he's just going to go to his room. Two, or B, he'll come in with major changes and you're going to be up all night rewriting his scenes. Or three, he'll come in with notes. Well, he came in with notes.
Oh, great.
And I sat down, just the two of us, and we talked about the movie and how it resonated with him. Cool. And he shared with me that he was adopted and that he grew up somewhat like Mickey with a chip on his shoulder. And the story resonated with him. And then he told me how I could make one of the scenes a little better toward the end and not have so many peaks and valleys of emotion in one scene. And I've taken that into my writing since then, that I didn't realize that I was creating this, roller coaster of emotions in one scene for the actor. And it was a great experience. And then equally was another late addition was Jay Carnes, who plays my brother as an adult. And Jay was a veteran, a TV actor. He had actually knew Ray. They got along very well. And Jay was a very late addition to the cast. And so when he came in, our director, Greg Lannacy, gave him a tape of my brother that Steve was somewhere speaking. And then he called my brother the night before filming. And he talked to him for like 45 minutes.
Oh, wow.
And that's where he got his cadence and his pattern of his speech from my brother. And he was that good of an actor that within less than 24 hours, he adapted his performance to my brother's physical cadence of his speech, the way he held his head or moved his eyes to express himself. And people who know us well, I've more than one person said this, at the end of the movie, on the bridge there, that those two brothers, that they were like us, and the way they react.
And when Ray had these notes, when Ray Liotta came in and had these notes, how surreal was this?
It was incredible to be sitting there, And again, if I told anyone that story, they wouldn't even believe me, right? It was incredible, and he's an intense guy, really intense guy, but yet he was very accessible and wanted to be in this movie. Because he said he wanted to make a movie that his daughter could go see.
That's great.
Yeah, and the fact that he was in Field of Dreams, and that he narrated Goodfellas. That being part of our movie was just an incredible get.
And that intensity is why so many people love him in these roles. He has this intensity, or he had this intensity, I should say.
Yeah.
But there was an earnestness in his eyes, that you would see.
Yeah. There was even the opening scene with he and Keith David.
Right. Yeah.
And I incorporated that scene. Actually happened to my friend. And that was a true life story, but it didn't happen to me. It happened to my friend, and I incorporated it into the movie. And I think that's why it also resonates with people. with my friend and this cop had this discussion.
Right. Yeah, that's a great scene too.
Yeah, yeah, and so again, another Keith David, another great actor, another great voice actor.
Yeah,
as
excellent.
far as being for actors, who are voice actors as well. He has an incredible career.
When you were writing Chasing 3000 or the incarnation before, what did you want the audience to feel?
I guess I wanted them to feel the importance of being brothers. That, I've always seen it as a somewhat almost sacred relationship. It's interesting. Brothers have been good, have been had for bad and evil, and but also for good, in just scores of stories, right? I love the story. When JFK faced the Cuban crisis, the only person he could trust, the only person who in that room who did not have an agenda was Bobby. And there's that great picture, I don't know if you've ever seen it, of the two brothers standing outside of the Oval Office, just the two of them talking. He was the only one. I can relate to that. That's the relationship I had with my brother. And it's just, it's important. Sometimes I'm sad when I hear that someone doesn't have a good relationship with their own brother, because I had this great relationship with my brother. And there's something about brothers. I mean, look at the Bible. How many stories there are about brothers? Most of them not very good.
Sure.
But then I bring up the fact that when Jesus called his first apostles, he called his first apostles two pairs of brothers. Why would he do that? He calls two pairs of brothers. It's kind of interesting.
Interesting.
And
Yeah.
I don't know why, but it might be, one reason might be because brothers are willing to die for each other. The whole idea, and that brothers, like boys, young men who are in combat, bond as brothers. The Band of Brothers, right? The series.
Right.
They loved each other. It was stronger than just friendship. They were brothers, and so I did have this strong relationship with my brother, and I wanted people to feel that. It's a very long-winded answer.
And not everybody has that. Not everybody
No.
comes from a situation like that where
No.
you can feel there's a competition, or everybody has their little rank in their
Sure.
family. Some are the golden child, and some are the scapegoat, and it's hard to change those roles.
Yeah, it is.
You can't really do that.
And it's not. I'm not blaming anyone. It's not your fault if sometimes you don't get along with your own brother. He may not be someone that you can get along with, but I was, lucky, blessed enough to have that relationship. But I do believe, as parents, now that I've raised a family, you can teach your children to get along. Okay, that little fatherly advice.
Sure.
But you can teach I think you have to teach your children to get along with each other, and to that's important. Sisters are the same way, right? There's sisterhood, very close. Sisters can be very, very close, and it's that same thing. And so I think I sharing that with people.
Right. And then you wanted humor in the film. Was it always funny?
Yeah, I mean, we grew up. My brother Steve grew up laughing and joking. It's fun. How it's interesting how painful certain stand-up comics' lives are, right? And I think it was Robert McKee who pointed out. He says there have been. I can't tell you how many dinner parties in Hollywood have been ruined by someone inviting a comedy writer to the dinner thinking that he was going to be a bundle of joy, and he was the most depressed person that you've ever met in your life. But that's what, right? Humor comes from. You either cry about it or you laugh about it. And my brother Steve was, and in our family, we were able to laugh about things, and he was able to do that. And that was part of who he was he would take the tension out of it. The scene in the movie where, the biker asks him, and he goes, I wanted to be a stand-up comic, but life dealt me a cruel blow.
Sure.
I mean, it's pretty funny, right? That's humor, is that you turn it, right? You turn it. What's the expression that humor is just anger turned inside out?
Sure.
And
sarcasm is that way too. Yeah.
Right. And but Steve Steve could be sarcastic and cutting, and but Steve was a funny person.
Well, the grandfather was funny too. There were many funny moments. I don't want to ruin it, but that had me laughing. So there was a good humor that, and you didn't always expect that it was coming. So
right.
It was, enjoy it.
Yeah, so the grandfather character is actually a composite character, because I did have a father in my life, but in order to make the story more believable, that couldn't be present in this bigger story. Sure. So the grandfather character is really my father and my two grandfathers.
Oh, nice. Okay.
That's there's certain elements of all three of them, and and both of my grandfathers were immigrants, and like most of us, they came to Pittsburgh to work in steel mills, and so I use that line. Writers like to quote themselves, but that we all had two things in common. Our grandfather spoke with accents, and we loved Roberto Clemente, because growing up, everybody's grandfather was an immigrant, whether you were Italian or Greek or Polish, or right, and it didn't matter the nationality, but their grandfathers, everyone's grandfather spoke with accents, right? Because they all came kind of at the same time.
Sure.
To work in the steel mills, but